Welcome to your Health Facts podcast, listeners. Today we'll be exploring some of the lesser-known factors that can influence hair growth. I'm joined by a medical doctor who will be sharing their expertise on this topic.
While we often hear that protein is key for healthy hair, it's actually much more nuanced than that. It's about having a truly balanced diet to support optimal growth.
A balanced diet, huh? I can see how that makes sense, but how does that really affect our hair on like a molecular level?
Well, one of the key components of hair structure is an amino acid called cystine.
Cystine.
And this cystine, it's rich in sulfur, which helps form what are called disulfide bonds. These bonds are what give hair its strength, its elasticity, its ability to withstand water and styling. But here's the thing. Our bodies actually prioritize cystine for detoxification processes, especially when we're under stress, dealing with illness, or exposed to more toxins.
Oh, interesting. So even if we're eating enough protein, our body might be using that cystine elsewhere.
Exactly. It's like our body has a triage system, and sometimes hair growth just isn't the top priority compared to other essential functions.
So it's not just about what we eat, but how our body is actually utilizing those nutrients.
Right. And another factor that plays a critical role, and this might seem obvious, is hydration.
Hydration for hair.
Absolutely. Just like a plant needs water to thrive, your hair needs sufficient hydration to transport all those vital nutrients to the hair follicles.
So how much water should we be aiming for daily?
A good rule of thumb is to aim for about 9 to 13 8-ounce cups each day. And of course, if you're sweating more, like during hot weather or exercise, you'll want to increase that intake.
Makes sense. Now, let's switch gears and talk about something that might surprise our listeners. High fructose corn syrup.
Oh yeah, this is a big one.
Many people wouldn't immediately connect sugary syrup with their hair health. So what's the link?
Well, the high fructose content in processed foods, it can really reap havoc on your body. And that havoc can lead to inflammation and hormonal imbalances, which can ultimately affect hair growth.
Hormonal imbalances.
Yes. Those imbalances can trigger an increase in androgens, which are male hormones, and androgens can actually shrink hair follicles.
And that leads to thinner hair.
You got it. Now, it's important to note that fructose is naturally found in fruits, but the problem lies in the concentrated doses found in processed foods.
So it's about the source and the quantity.
Exactly. When we consume those processed foods, the fructose is metabolized differently, and that can potentially contribute to things like fatty liver, insulin resistance, and those hormonal imbalances we talked about.
So choosing whole fruits over processed snacks is definitely the way to go.
Absolutely. Now, moving on to minerals, iron is another one that requires a delicate balance.
Iron. We know it's important for our blood, but how does it affect our hair?
It's definitely essential, especially for menstruating women. But too much iron can actually be detrimental. Yes, iron overload can trigger an immune response, leading to, you guessed it, inflammation. And as we've discussed, inflammation can impact hair growth.
So getting our iron levels checked regularly is key.
Yes, and it's important to avoid unnecessary supplementation. Interestingly, another mineral that's often overlooked is zinc.
Zinc. Tell me more.
Zinc deficiency is a global concern, affecting billions of people worldwide, and even a mild deficiency can contribute to hair loss and hinder skin healing.
Wow, I had no idea it was that widespread. What role does zinc play in our bodies?
Well, it's involved in so many bodily functions, including immune function, protein synthesis, and wound healing. All of these processes are important for overall health, including healthy hair.
So ensuring adequate zinc intake is crucial.
Definitely. Now, another mineral that's often forgotten in conversations about hair health is magnesium.
Magnesium. I know it's important for muscle function, but how does it relate to hair?
It's actually involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions in the body, impacting everything from bone strength to heart rhythm, blood pressure, and glucose control.
Wow, that's incredible.
Inadequate magnesium intake can indirectly affect hair growth by disrupting all of these essential bodily functions. And then there are vitamins, those play a part too, like vitamin B12, that's super important for hair growth.
B12, huh?
Yeah, it's involved in carbohydrate and protein metabolism, and it's also associated with glutathione levels, which are, crucial for overall health.
Okay, glutathione, that rings a bell. It's an antioxidant, right?
Right, exactly. And certain conditions can increase the risk of B12 deficiency, like pernicious anemia, gastric bypass surgery, and even some medications.
So it's something to be mindful of.
Definitely. And here's another interesting thing about B12. It's actually produced exclusively by microbes.
Microbes. Like bacteria.
Yeah, like bacteria. So that raises some concerns about getting enough B12 if you're only eating, animal products.
That's a good point. So what happens if we don't get enough B12?
Well, one of the things that can happen is you get elevated homocysteine levels. Homocysteine is an amino acid, and too much of it can cause inflammation in your arteries.
Inflammation, again, it seems to be connected to so many things.
It really is. And that inflammation in the arteries can impede blood flow, which ultimately affects the nourishment of hair follicles.
Ah, so that's the connection to hair health.
Now, let's talk about another trace element that's often overlooked, selenium.
Selenium. Not something I hear about every day.
I know, right? But it's crucial for hair health. It contributes to antioxidant defense, helps with thyroid hormone metabolism, and supports immune function.
Okay, so it's kind of an all-arounder.
Pretty much. And one of the things it does is protect hair cells from damage caused by free radicals and oxidative stress.
So it's like a bodyguard for our hair cells.
I like that analogy. And selenium is also essential for the formation of selenoproteins, which are really important for detoxification and something called glutathione peroxidase activity.
Glutathione peroxidase, another one for the vocabulary list.
It's a mouthful, right?
Yeah.
But basically, it helps to protect our cells from damage. And just to give you an idea of how important selenium is, a deficiency in it can lead to some pretty serious health problems.
Oh, wow. Like what?
Well, there's a heart condition called Kishan disease that's linked to selenium deficiency. And it's also been connected to an increased susceptibility to Coxsackie virus B.
So selenium is clearly not something to mess with.
Doop. Now, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about something that's often overlooked when it comes to hair health. Sleep.
Sleep. I knew you were going to say that.
It's so important. Quality sleep is incredibly important for hair growth because it impacts hormone levels and cell regeneration.
I can see how that makes sense.
And when you don't get enough sleep, it can increase your cortisol levels. Cortisol is a stress hormone, and high levels can lead to hair loss, kind of similar to what happens with steroid use.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
And adequate sleep is also crucial for protein synthesis and immune function, both of which we've already talked about as being essential for healthy hair growth.
Makes sense.
And when you're sleep deprived, it can actually impair the production of antibodies, which are super important for fighting off infections that can, indirectly impact hair growth.
Wow, it seems like everything is connected. It really does seem like our hair is a reflection of what's going on inside our bodies.
I couldn't agree more. If your hair isn't looking its best, it could be a sign that something else is going on.
Like maybe it's time to take a closer look at our diet or how much water we're drinking.
Exactly. And it might also be a good time to check in with yourself about stress levels and sleep quality.
It all ties together, doesn't it?
It really does. And addressing these underlying factors can not only improve the health of your hair, but also enhance your overall well-being.
So it's not just about vanity. It's about taking care of ourselves from the inside out.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today. This has been a fascinating look into the world of hair health.
It's been my pleasure.
And for our listeners, if you'd like to learn more about maintaining optimal health, be sure to visit our website, yourhealthfacts.com. That's yourhealthfacts.com. Thanks for tuning in.